Predicted it. Spring is back, and so is Tom Gargaro from the Air Heritage Foundation. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mike. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Hearing from you, seeing the sunshine a little bit today, it means we're on the way to warmer temperatures and great outdoor activities.
It sure does. It's a beautiful time of the year, and especially for Air Heritage Aviation Museum, it's a wonderful time of year for us.
I'll tell people that I visited there just a couple of weeks ago. I was out there with my grandson and Cub Scouts pack. Came out there for a visit. I don't know if you guys do that often out there, but it was quite an experience to get the tour and to get the narration, everything that was going on around there. They didn't rush anybody through. Kids got to see all the airplanes, ask a lot of questions about things.
Yeah, we often do big group tours like that. First of all, my experience there, Mike, is every child loves it there. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter male or female. They're all fascinated by the relics that we have there, plus the big planes.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about you personally. When you said relics,
I appreciate that. But yeah, we often book tours in there, always free of charge. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. All people have to do really is call ahead, so we make sure we have enough volunteers there. Like when you came with your grandson, it was a pretty large group. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that we have enough people there so that everybody can get people like my friend here, Dave Messersmith, that can give tours and let everybody know what's going on out there.
Yeah. When you talk about kids growing up, introduce Dave because it seems like it's something that would have inspired Dave at a young age.
I would think so. This is Dave Messersmith. Dave is kind of in charge of our World War II C-47. He's also a valuable member of the museum. Dave might be one of the most knowledgeable people about aviation in general. He flew in the military. He flew commercial. Now he flies vintage warbirds. I think he's flown helicopters. He's really one of our resident experts on aviation.
Good morning, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you coming in this morning. And as Tom was talking about growing up, as you were growing up, when did you get interested? When did flying really connect with you?
My father was a pilot.
Okay.
So let's say on day one, somewhere back in 1955.
All right.
So there was always an airplane picture. There was always aviation. There was always something going on in the family that was aviation related or orientated.
So you got your wings early?
I did, yes.
Okay, very good. And so you've been flying ever since. What age did you finally get behind the wheel and get a chance to fly?
First lesson about 15 years old.
Okay.
That didn't stick because at the time I was racing motorcycles. The motorcycle was 10 feet away in the garage, and the airplane lesson was an hour drive away.
Okay.
So I focused more on racing motorcycles.
So what is it about speed and danger that you like so much?
Good question.
You sound like Top Gun there, motorcycles and planes.
I don't see the danger. I mean, there is danger in racing motorcycles, not in aviation.
No. Okay.
I don't race motorcycles anymore. I aged out. I do have several bikes, but I've aged out on that hobby.
You flew in the military, Vietnam?
No, I'm too young for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually went into the military right after high school as an enlisted mechanic. And that was my plan, was to go be a mechanic for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, about year one in the Air Force, I started flying on my days off and realized I liked breaking airplanes more than I liked fixing them. So then I did a little career change, did that 4-year enlistment. That gave me the VA benefits, and I was able to turn those into FAA ratings and also a college degree. Mm-hmm. So eventually I went back into the Air Force as a pilot.
You'll have to explain some of the jargon because you said breaking airplanes, and I get the image of breaking horses, when there's a wild horse and you got to break it.
Anytime you operate a piece of machinery, whether it's a lawnmower or something, parts are going to fail. So that's the fixing part. The braking part is the person flying the airplane.
Okay.
So normally you don't have a pilot that when the pilot's done with that Air Force fighter jet, he goes home. He doesn't stay there to fix the airplane. Mm-hmm. So that's where the mechanics come in. So that's the braking part and the fixing part.
Fixing part and flying them, huh? So I don't know that I'd want to be up in the air when a part broke, but that was your job?
Well, just simple stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then there's the routine servicing that goes along with that, the refueling and the oil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So It's part of the maintenance operation.
See, and Dave is actually certified what they call an A&P mechanic. Means he can work on the airframe itself or the power plant. I'll tell you something. I've only been involved with Air Heritage for about 4 years. Something I found out when I got over there, which shocked me, like both of our warbirds have 2 engines, right? And to my surprise, these guys can safely fly it with 1 engine. Safely fly it and safely land it with 1 engine, which...
Have you been up in it when they did that?
Me? Yeah. No, sir. He has, but not me.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
No.
We do train, even in the airlines. I spent a 30-some-year career with U.S. Air, which then turned into American. Engine failure in today's airplanes is really not a big deal.
Yeah.
On our old World War II airplane, for training every year, we do shut an engine down in flight, go through the procedure, restart the engine.
Yeah.
So it's really not it's not an emergency per se.
I go through some rough turbulence up there, and I get all panicky. Now you're talking about 1 engine. I can't imagine that going on. The War Pig out there, it's under construction, Pig. Right? The Thunder Pig, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got some major issues this year with our C-123. It is the last one in the world flying that we're aware of, and we have Facebook family aviation enthusiasts around the world. We're pretty sure it's the last one flying. We've got some major work to do on the propellers and engines. So it's grounded for this summer. I would ask everybody who's listening to look out for our future fundraising efforts to help support that. Air Heritage lives 100% on donations. Even like when you came out with your grandson and stuff, there's never a fee. We just take donations, but it's probably going to cost us several $100,000 to get that flying again. Our goal is to have it flying again for the 2026 summer. But in the meantime, it's grounded, and we're lucky that we've got people like with Dave's qualifications that are still there to volunteer to work on these that are A&P mechanics. Yeah. So a lot of work on that one. One thing we're really happy to announce, the C-47, the one that Dave kind of oversees and flies and does the maintenance on it, was not in the air last year due to some issues that have been resolved, and so it's back in the air again this year. It will be, we've already talked with Push Beaver County. Dave will be doing the flyover in that C-47 for Beaver County Boom.
Oh, okay, great.
And also down at Pittsburgh International Raceway for the Garage Tour in October. I think Beaver County Boom is June 28th. Mm-hmm. The Garage Tour is October 15th, I do believe. And we're actively pursuing right now air shows where Dave will fly it to an air show. And, I think one we've booked already is in Akron. It'll be back in the air this year. Really, this plane went into service, I think it was September 30th of 44, Dave.
End of September 1944, it was delivered to RAF Welford outside of London to start its World War II career.
Okay. Interesting. And so we'll see it at the Boom. You'll see it at the Pitt Raceway, right?
Yep.
For that.
Yeah.
When you're up there, though, you don't really feel the excitement that the people on the ground do whenever you fly past. Because I was down at Boom last year and went over, and the people just, they are anticipating it, and then when it comes and it's so close to you, because you're flying low, people are just amazed at it, looking up in the sky.
We're happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean, really, because you're up there, so you can't hear the oohs and the ahs from up in the cockpit. How is it to fly around here? Because I did mention that you're low to the ground. You're lower to the ground. We usually see the jets and the chemtrails going up in the sky, but that's the wrong word to use.
Chemtrails.
Conspiracy.
Don't get me started on chemtrails.
Conspiracy theories here. But we see them from thousands of feet away. But here, it's people are taking pictures of it right over their heads.
I mean, it's nice that we can get it down low enough. There are some restrictions of how low we can go over what the FAA calls an open air assembly of people. So it is nice that we can get down low enough to be seen by the crowd.
Yeah.
The airliners that are up at 30-some thousand feet, it's pretty much boring for people on the ground to see them or the pilots in the air. Most of the great things you see from aviation are down low.
Beaver County, because of CCBC, and I know you just had a groundbreaking out at the airport, but there are a lot of pilots that come from Beaver County. I know a few of them, and I was always surprised. So many, and I don't know if they all come air traffic controllers. I know out of Beaver County, CCBC, but pilots as well have been flying out of Beaver County or calling Beaver County home for a long time.
I think it's part of the flow program. I'm not quite sure how CCBC works. They can answer that question better for you, but I think they've got a program that starts, I know, through Black Hawk as a junior or senior. They can start working towards a career either in piloting or in air traffic control, and that flows right into Community College of Beaver County, and I think Southern Illinois University still is attached, but you'd have to get with CCBC. But there's a great program that allows the kids early on to start that flow through.
And Tom, talk about the groundbreaking ceremony that was just out there at the Beaver County Airport.
Yeah, we were really thrilled at Air Heritage when Community College of Beaver County approached us about having the groundbreaking ceremony in our hangar. We always work very, very well with CCBC. They're huge supporters of our organization, and we like to think conversely so. So there's going to be a brand new terminal building built. This is all from CCBC, and has nothing. Air Heritage isn't involved with that. We just hosted the event, but CCBC and the airport, Beaver County Airport Authority, and the manager out there, the director Tim Nestor. So they had a groundbreaking ceremony. They're going to build a brand new terminal. The terminal, to my understanding, will be a 2-story terminal. Half of it will be for the college. The college right now, their aviation sciences building is over to the right of our hangar. This will be out where the terminal currently sits. Also down the road, I think they have plans to build a brand new tower, all new technology. So, yeah, we were really, really thrilled. Beaver County commissioners were there. A lot of the state representatives were there. And anytime at Air Heritage that we can support CCBC, we will. And anytime we can get people there to get exposed to Air Heritage, it's nothing but a positive for us. Regularly, Mike, we get people walking in that have lived their entire life in Beaver County, don't even know that we're there. So that kind of publicity really helps get the word out about our organization.
Yeah. And that's too bad, too. I've been out there at different times when I worked for the Humane Society, and we'd pick up pets out there. There'd be guys flying in, and they'd be transporting dogs or cats, and to not donate, but adopt to the Humane Society, and then people would be able to adopt different pets. They come out of flood areas or disaster areas where they get all these animals that were lost in floods and things like that, and bring them back to places like Beaver County so that they can get adopted.
I think it was last fall when there were a lot of hurricanes down in the Carolinas. And so there were several private pilots that housed their airplanes out at the Beaver County Airport and the hangars out there that volunteered to fly food and supplies down. And so we had a collection bin in the entrance to our museum, and they would stop in, and they were making 2 or 3 flights a week. There was a gentleman and his daughter, both pilots, and they would come in and collect the stuff, and they'd pay for their fuel and oil, whatever it cost to fly the plane down and back and stuff. So it's and the same issue with like stranded pets and stuff like that. So it's really nice stuff. It's amazing, see these guys and Dave has his own plane. They can say, I don't know, hypothetically, right, to his wife, "Hey, Mary, let's fly to Akron for dinner." And it's like nothing to them, where we sit there and go, "Yeah, I don't know, it's a 2-hour drive over and 2-hour drive back." So it's an enviable luxury, in my opinion, what they have to be able to fly.
Yeah. And you talk about flight today as opposed to 60, 70 years ago, and how it changes, and how the planes change. But also when you talk about needing funding and you're trying to raise money, and you can only have so many bake sales, and it's not really going to get you very far. A lot of it relies on getting grants and those sort of things from the government. Am I correct about that? Because you can't operate an airport or the Air Heritage Museum without a continuous stream of funding. So that's going to change from administration to administration. What does the future look like? Can you apply for grants, or do you have to rely on a state representative or somebody like that to push it through for you?
So we were lucky and very thankful the last couple of years. The Beaver County Commissioners and Sandy Agley helped us obtain a grant 2 years in a row. I did talk with a lot of the politicians at the groundbreaking ceremony that we need help. Researching and writing grants is a very specialized area.
It's an art, yeah.
Right? It is an art. So our intent, and we're going to be rolling out looking for people that can do those things, right? That can actually research grants and know how to write and apply for grants. We'll be probably, Judith, my wife, will be setting up a GoFundMe page because we have such huge expenses over this next year on the C-123. So the other thing that helps keep us alive is going to air shows. When we have both the C-123 and the C-47 flying to air shows in the same year, that really helps sustain our organization. I'm not sure that we would be able to stay open if it was just walk-in donations, as much as we appreciate that. So it's our goal. I always have like a 1 and a 3 year plan. The 1 year plan right now is to see if we can get some people in to help to research and write grants for us, because there's a lot of money available in grants. There's a museum over in Ohio. I'm not sure where it's at, Dave, Maps Museum. They actually have one full-time employee, and that employee does nothing but write applications for grants. So it's very important.
Yeah, not everybody can do it. It's all in crossing the T's and dotting the I's as to whether you get it or not.
Correct.
All
Correct.
right. Tom Gargaro from Air Heritage Museum, Dave Messersmith from Air Heritage Museum. We're going to talk more about some of the programs coming up here on Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio and the Pennsylvania Hot Rod Company have teamed up again for the 3rd annual Cruising the Ridge Car Cruises. This year's car cruises are presented by Belcones Moon Township Ford, A.K. Nahas Appliance, Furniture, Mattress, and TV, and Dan Hoffman State Farm Insurance. Join us on Saturday, May the 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the first of 5 cruises this year. Cruises are being held at the Beaver County Radio Studios at 4301 Dutch Ridge Road in Brighton Township. Solid Gold Saturday host J.D. Merkel will spin tunes in the parking lot. There will be food trucks, a 50-50, and a Chinese auction. New this year will be a swap meet area, and each cruise will have a theme to it. May's theme is Corvettes. The cruises are rain or shine, and the first 100 receive a dash plaque. Collect all 5 for a chance at a special prize at the end of the year. Cruising on the Ridge is also being sponsored by Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Rochester Paving and Seal Coating, Hank's Frozen Custard and Mexican Food, the Fire Transportation Group Incorporated, the Pennsylvania Hot Rod Company, and Beaver County Radio.
The NASCAR Cup Series
Carl Edwards puts the green flag in the air.
returns after a week off.
Trouble turn number 2. One car spins on the back straightaway. It's Kyle Larson. He got loose coming off of the corner.
To feel the adrenaline of Talladega Superspeedway.
Here comes William Byron giving it one final shot. Off the corner to the line. The checkered flag is waving.
It's the Jack Links 500.
Attention seniors, did you know that by being a part of Silver Sneakers, you can receive a Beaver County YMCA membership for no additional cost? More than 16 million Medicare members have access to the Silver Sneakers program. Just give our member service representatives a call, and we'll take care of the rest. For more information, give us a call at 724-891-8439. Again, that's 724-891-8439.
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
Looking for a quick and easy lunch or dinner? Make it the 2 for $6 McDonald's deal. You'll get your choice of Big Mac, 10-piece nuggets, or filet of fish. Pick 2 for only $6. Only at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Anastasia, the epic adventure of home, love, and family, May 2nd through the 11th. Sponsored by Clearview Federal Credit Union. For tickets, visit LincolnParkArts.org.
Have you ever found something interesting that makes you go, oh? Then tune in every other Tuesday from 5 to 5:30 p.m. on Beaver County Radio for the Oh Show with Orlana Dawkins Drury. Orlana relates her views about informing, inspiring, and entertaining headlines that makes the world go round in interviews with local influencers that make you go, oh. The episode will be on Beaver County Radio Facebook and YouTube pages, so make sure to join the Oh Show with Orlana Dawkins Drury every other Tuesday from 5 to 5:30 right here on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP and BeaverCountyRadio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning on this Tuesday, April 22nd of 2025. We will have a complete Beaver County Radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that a car wrecked on Veterans Memorial Bridge on Monday. According to Bridgewater Police Chief Steve Roberts, John Pfeiffer of Beaver Falls attempted to turn right and went too tight on Route 51, causing his car to tip onto its roof. Roberts also commented that charges were not filed against Pfeiffer, who was taken by medic rescue to a hospital in the local area. According to an order from Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, all Commonwealth of Pennsylvania flags and United States flags will fly at half-staff to honor the late Pope Francis. The tribute ends on sunset of the day of the interment of Pope Francis. All residents of Pennsylvania are invited to take part in the tribute for Pope Francis. PennDOT District 11 announced that beginning Tuesday, April 22nd, weather permitting, a lane restriction will occur on southbound Route 65 on Ohio River Boulevard in Freedom Borough. From 3 a.m. to 5 p.m. today, a single lane restriction will take place between the East Rochester-Monaca Bridge and River Road. Track maintenance work will be performed by crews from Norfolk Southern. Gas prices are 2 pennies higher in western Pennsylvania this week at $3.62 per gallon. That's according to AAA East Central's gas price report. The report states that at this time last year, the average price for a gallon of gas was about $3.85 in western Pennsylvania. The report also notes that the average price that you can expect for a gallon of unleaded gas here in Beaver County is around $3.69. Governor Josh Shapiro is returning to his residence after a man set it on fire last week. According to Shapiro, he still believes in the Pennsylvania State Police to keep him safe, and a third party is investigating the systems for changes. Shapiro will also be the host for an Easter egg hunt at his mansion today. President Donald Trump also called Shapiro on Saturday with concerns for Shapiro. Shapiro confirms that he will stay in contact with the president. In the Keystone State, more than 300 Pickup Pennsylvania environmental events are planned for this Earth Week. Here's more from Danielle Smith.
Last year, more than 77,000 volunteers removed over 3 million pounds of trash and planted thousands of trees and flowers. Michelle Dunn with Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful says Pickup PA is an annual volunteer effort to clean up Pennsylvania roads, parks, streams, and communities. She adds people who take part in these beautification events are helping to fight air and water pollution, not just for Earth Day, but for the future.
They're helping in many ways, picking up the trash and the illegal dumping, because that clogs up our storm drains. Sometimes the illegal dumping is adjacent to a stream. If we get high water, that comes down, blocks drainage ditches. So by keeping our drains and our waterways clean of the debris, that will help the water flow and lessen flooding.
Earlier this year, Governor Josh Shapiro's administration announced more than $15 million in funding to conserve and protect waterways and watersheds, reclaim abandoned mine sites, and plug abandoned wells.
Pope Francis died on Easter Monday at the age of 88. The Vatican said Francis suffered a stroke which led to a coma and to heart failure. His death came as he recovered from a 5-week hospitalization for double pneumonia. On Tuesday, the Vatican released its first images showing him in a wooden casket and announced that the funeral will take place on Saturday. That will be followed by a conclave to elect a new pope.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly cloudy today, then gradually becoming sunny. We'll see a high near 65. Partly cloudy tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 46. Sunshine tomorrow. Look for a high near 75 and a low around 52. And mostly sunny on Thursday with a slight chance of showers through the overnight. We'll see a high near 81 and a low around 58. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Welcome to Live Mike with Mike Romigh. This is the show that talks about what's happening in Beaver County. Noah Haswell will have news at the top and bottom of each hour. Now, here is the host of the show, Mike Romigh.
As we continue to take flight this morning, talking with Air Heritage Aviation Museums, Tom Gargaro and Dave Messersmith, finding out all about some programs that they have coming up here within the next couple of months, air shows that I know you're going to want to attend. And the C-47 will be in flight again for the Beaver County Boom and a number of other places. And Dave Messersmith is the pilot for that. You're retired now from flying planes professionally, correct?
Yeah, I retired from the airlines in 2020. There's
US
actually
Air.
a mandatory retirement age of 65.
Is that right?
So at 65, the day before your birthday, you can fly 300 people to Paris, and the next day you're too old. So it's unfortunate. It's one of the few careers that has an age cutoff.
Yeah.
So
we should maybe, try and put that into Congress or something.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, it used to be 60. So I feel lucky that I got to go to 65.
Right.
So they're working at possibly 68 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, years ago it was an arbitrary number, and it still is.
I think we're all three of us are over 60. I don't think there's anything wrong with our reflexes. Do you?
Nothing wrong with mine.
The worst part is they lose a lot of experience.
Of course.
I used to tell the new hires, there's not a problem that I haven't seen yet. There's not a problem that I don't already have a solution to in 40-some years of flying.
Yeah.
It's one of those been there, done that, got the shirt. So that's the worst part is you let all that experience at 65 walk out the door. So.
Yeah, you'd think that performance might be the barometer you'd want to use. At least this is my personal opinion, right? Instead of saying when you're 65, because you do lose some of the most experienced pilots you have. These pilots are responsible for our safety every minute when we're up in the air. We were all new at our jobs at one point in time, but I still think that arbitrary just saying a number doesn't make any sense to me, but who am I?
Right. Sully used to. Did he fly for U.S. Air?
He was U.S. Air. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you retired from U.S. Air.
Yes.
You were 25 years for U.S. Air.
I don't know how long he was there. Yeah.
No, I mean you.
Oh, you.
You.
Oh, I started in '85.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at 35 years.
Yeah. And it was, you just enjoyed it. You had a passion for it.
It's nice.
Or
It's
was it
nice
just-
to
or
enjoy
was it
your
just a job?
I enjoyed the people I worked with.
Yeah.
I enjoyed flying airplanes. There's a lot of other stuff on the fringes that I had enough of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now my phone doesn't ring at 2 in the morning. Can you help us on your day off? We need this. Or when I see a big weather system come through and I know delays are going to be terrible, I can easily go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So it was a very fun career. I'm very glad I picked that career path. But the day I retired, it was like a big exhale. It was like stepping off a roller coaster.
Okay. People like myself and my line of work were always inquisitive about things. What was the worst? What was the worst experience you ever had in the air?
None.
Nothing. It was always
the passengers think that every flight's going to be a terror, and my whole career, I never shut an engine down, and that's. Well, I quit counting years ago. I have over 25,000 hours in the air.
Yeah.
So it's there's not a lot that happens. Hollywood makes it look really exciting. The news media likes to spin it like crazy if there's an accident. But your worry should be the gravel truck on Black Hawk Road. That's going to get you. Aviation is so much safer than being on the road. So.
Dave, as a non-aviator, my perception, and we talk about this up at the museum oftentimes, my perception is like in the last whatever period of time, there just seems to be a slew of things happening with aviation. It's like once a week, and I don't know whether it's because the news is more focused on it and sensationalizing it, or are things actually happening related to aviation more often? Wings on fire and all that kind of stuff that's happening.
Sensationalism sells. Yeah. Okay, that's how the media works. And it's so rare that it happens that's why it makes news.
Matt?
If they told you that last weekend, over the Easter weekend, 100 people died in cars, that's not news. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Well, they do care. But I'm just saying is the stuff that happens in aviation is so rare that it's newsworthy.
And it's said in newsrooms a lot when people question sensationalism, stuff like that, and the answer is usually we don't report on planes that land safely. Because it just doesn't get any attention.
If the takeoffs equal the landings, it's a good day.
Yeah.
No, it's the safest form of travel in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, when something does happen, it is so rare that it's newsworthy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
There's a guy down the hall here right now. We were talking maybe a week or so ago, and he says, I can't fly. I don't know what it is. I just don't like to fly. And I said, well, I was like that one time whenever the plane went down in Hopewell Township.
Mm-hmm.
I was in this
Flight
business.
427.
Yeah, and I thought, man, they were that close. They were probably texting people. I don't think they could text at the time, but saying, we're almost there, we're going to land in a couple minutes. And all of a sudden the plane goes down. It ended up being a rudder problem, but it was just like really eye-opening.
It was close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day when I drove to work, I drove by that site.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was for a very long time that I didn't think about that as I drove to work. So, but it's just so rare.
And the technology today, like I said, that plane went down, and then they started testing the other planes, and they found, well, this is a problem in these sort of planes, and they fixed it.
Yes.
And as you say, it's the safest form because they're always updating. They're always updating the technology, the education, to learn what keeps these things up and brings them down.
Yeah, it's the most monitored industry in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, people will go in their car. Let's say Saturday night. We know a large percentage of the people have been drinking, and they'll get on a road, go 65 mile an hour, and miss that car by only about 10 feet going the opposite direction. That should scare you. Flying in an airplane is so safe that you should just be able to take a nap and enjoy the ride. Yet that scares people because it's fear of the unknown.
Yeah, I do that.
The other thing, too, is there's no steering wheel in the back. So people are not in control.
Yeah, right.
When you're in the front seat of your car, you feel like you're in control. Now, when you're in my airliner, you're not in control. I'm in control. So it's another thing is people don't like being not in control.
Yeah.
So there's several phobias that go along with being the fear of flying, but it's the safest form of transportation in the world.
I'm going to be flying.
I get on an airplane. I'm usually asleep before we're airborne. That's my nap time. That's how comfortable
That's
I
not
am.
when you're a pilot.
No. Good try. No, but when I'm a passenger, I'm extremely comfortable because I know the level of safety that's going on.
Yeah. And how much of it is automatic pilot?
As much as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So you get it up in the air, and then you can.
Well, let the autopilot do the real simple stuff of flying the airplane. The captain, co-pilot, they're managers. I tell people it's kind of like a restaurant. If you're flipping burgers all day long, your restaurant's going to go out of business. You need to have some kid flipping burgers while you stand back and manage the whole operation. So that's where the autopilot comes in.
Okay.
So we normally fly on the autopilot as much as possible, let it take care of what I consider the trivial management stuff, and let the the managers, which are the pilots, take care of the other peripheral things that are going on. So, and the autopilot can think a lot faster than I can.
You make me feel a lot better about the flight to Sacramento I'm going to be making here in a couple of weeks.
Sure, certainly.
I'm going cross country, and it's like, I'll take a nap. I always sleep on the airplane.
I do too.
Yeah. What's the difference between flying a commercial airliner and the C-47 that you're currently working on?
Technology, evolution of aviation. The C-47 that I fly for the museum was designed in 1938. Ours was actually delivered in 1944. So if you look at the design, the systems, the ergonomics, the human engineering, it didn't exist in 1938. So when you get into a Boeing or an Airbus built today, the flap lever looks like a little flap. The landing gear looks like a little wheel. Where the C-47 designed in 1938, the handle for the flaps is also the same part number as the handle for the landing gear. And they're right next to each other. So it's a whole different strategy. It challenges your basic flying skills, where I would say an airliner challenges your intelligence kind of So it's more seat of the pants, artistic flying, where the airline would be more technical. Around the museum, we have a good laugh. We call it, I had a fight with an 80-year-old and won. So because the airplane's 80 years old. So the technology, the parts, the engineering, all of that are old.
Yeah.
So it's a very different place to operate than it was, say, for the airline. And I find it very challenging to fly an airplane that old. And the other part is you sit back and you say, you know, I hate to say, I'll be 70 years old this year. These kids were 25 years old, right off. I'm saying right off the farm, right out of the cities. The area accountants, and you know, they went to war flying this airplane, and here I sit, you know, multi-thousand-hour pilot. These guys only had a couple hundred hours, and they were flying this airplane. It gives you a lot of respect for what happened in that time period. So.
Yeah, and that they're still operational today. That you're finding parts and you're able to work on them and keep them in the air.
It's a challenge. We've named the parts, the material the parts are made out of, we call it unobtainium. It's a word that means we can't get them sometimes. They built 10,000 of these airplanes back in probably from 1942 through 1945, but most of them have been scrapped. There are probably operational now, maybe only 150 in the world. But there are still a lot of parts available, but there are parts we can't get. So anytime we work on the airplane and maybe we're forcing a part to come apart, we have to remember that if we break it, we may not be able to find that part. So it's very challenging to keep an airplane that old running.
Do you get many World War II pilots that come in and want to check it out?
Most of them have
passed on?
Aged out.
Okay.
Yes. The captain that flew our airplane, we did find him. And he knew that we had the airplane because most of them were scrapped. Out of 10,000, you know, by today there's only a couple hundred left. We did find the captain that flew it, and we did find his family. He didn't get a chance to see the airplane, but I had an opportunity. Both of his children, we were doing a flyby for the
Cemetery of the Alleghenies.
The funeral, and I told them that I would have a seat in the back for the flyby, and both of them were able to come into town from Phoenix, Arizona. A big effort, and actually had both of his children in the airplane. And what they didn't know is I had an instructor in the right seat. I was able to get out of the left seat, and each one of them got a chance to fly the airplane that their father flew in World War II. So a lot of people will say, yeah, my grandpa flew an airplane like that. You know, they actually flew the airplane that their father flew.
Yeah.
So.
What was that like? I mean, you're watching, they probably doing selfies of each other as they're doing it.
The term alligator tears.
Yeah, is that right?
That was an emotional day.
Yeah, because they didn't know they were going to get to fly it. So when we were done doing the flyby for the event, we actually went over a little bit closer to Ohio where it was very quiet airspace, and each one of them were able to take just a few minutes in the airplane.
That kind of experience just gives you chills just hearing about it.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that airplane, I should tell you that we got that airplane in 2013. When we got it, it had been being used at that point in time by the state of Florida for spraying mosquitoes. And it looked nothing like it looks today. If I remember the pictures, Dave, it was silver. The inside was all torn out. Dave and a lot of volunteers at Air Heritage actually spent 7 years making it look like it should, like it does now, like it did originally. Wow. So.
And we're going to get to see that come time for the boom?
Absolutely. Dave will be up there flying on June 28th for Beaver County Boom. One of the neat things about that, and I remember being there last year with you. Last year, the C-123 was flying over. And if anybody wants, you or anybody else, I'll certainly describe what they're looking at to the best of my ability. But one of the nice things is, a lot of times when we will post on Facebook that, oh, we're heading to an air show on a Saturday morning, 50, 100 people will come out to the airport just to watch Dave taxi out and then take off or land. And you see it just taking off or just landing. Down there at these flyovers, what impresses me, and I think impresses everybody, you don't just see it going straight like this. You see it flying, tilted, whatever the word is, and like that is super cool. See, these guys that have been around these airplanes, like, it's not, I go, holy smokes, Mike, look at that, is that cool, And so it's a real different view. They'll do multiple sort of circles around the confluence down there, so that all the river towns that are involved with Boone, everybody will have a chance to see it. I do believe Beaver County Radio will be down there, and everybody listening to Beaver County Radio can listen in to hear me describe that plane. So it's pretty neat.
It is. And I know, Tom, it's emotional for you because your father was a veteran. Your father was had a classic car that you still drive today, that old Cadillac. So, hearing about this and hearing, because when I hear about guys who are into classic cars and they're working on their cars and trying to get parts for them, you're putting these two loves together for a lot of people. And that's going to bring back memories for you and your father.
Yeah, and my father was in the Army Air Corps back then, before it was called the Air Force. He was a meteorologist, but his one brother flew P-38s. So, Mike, I think like our generation was just surrounded by history, is my personal opinion. And so, for me, they both mesh well together with my dad's Cadillac and being around these type of old historic warbirds and stuff. Our parents were there during the World Wars. It's not so far removed for us, right? And so for me, really, like every day I go to that museum, I touch that C-47. I just touch it and think this thing was, that plane actually, didn't make a couple drops at the Battle of the Bulge? That actual plane.
Yeah, it's just been there, done that. A lot of times you'll see, I call it the Disney World effect. It's fake, it's plastic, it's painted like a rock. This airplane actually was there. So it was delivered in September 1944 to the RAF Welford, which was a U.S. Air Force base or a Army Air Corps base that was outside of London. And from there, it supported Battle of the Bulge, which was the 101st Airborne was pinned down. The 24th of December and the 26th of December, this actual aircraft did low-level airdrop. And I think on the 26th, it took some small arms fire. If you go look on the left wing, you'll find a patch on the bottom and a patch on the top of the wing. That usually means it wasn't damaged. That means that something went through. So it did take some small arms fire. They were dropping supplies, ammunition, food, and medical supplies to the 101st Airborne. And that was Battle of the Bulge. That was December. Also later on in the war, as the Germans were pushed out of France, this aircraft was relocated to just south of Paris at Brittany, which is, that airfield is still there. And from there, it towed two gliders, two of the Waco gliders, which were built here in Ohio, and an airdrop into the crossing of the Rhine, which was Operation Varsity. So, between that, it did about a total of 97 missions between showing up in September of 44 and VE Day, which was May.
Yeah.
I think VE, Victory, Europe. And then it stayed in Europe, even after the Germans had surrendered, and still did some airlift there. But it's the real McCoy.
Yeah.
It also was one of three airplanes used when the military newspaper was called the Stars and Stripes. So the VE edition of the Stars and Stripes, there were three airplanes that were chosen to drop those across Europe, and our C-47 was one. And we know that because the original Captain Edward Frome, he kept meticulous notes that his kids actually sent us, I think, of every day he flew, who flew with him, what they carried, where they went. So in the old car world, we call it the provenance, right? When I can sit there and tell you from day one what day my dad's car came off the line and where, we have that kind of provenance with this wonderful airplane. So it's really, really unusual and a real piece of history. When we go to air shows, and we'll go there and stay there for a day or two, depending on the air show, we have lines all day of people coming just to see the inside of that plane, not to fly on it, just to see the inside of it. So it's really a pretty cool thing, and hopefully everybody around here will stop up to see it.
Yeah, incredible history. And the Air Heritage Aviation Museum continues to make history. You just recently won or up for an award, the Civil Air Award.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. So the Civil Air Patrol, which has been around, gosh, Dave, I don't know, 80 years probably or so. They do a lot of support with aviation. They actually use some of their squadrons to help in airplane crashes however rare they happen. But so our local squadron they voted us this. It's called the Frank G. Brewer Senior Civil Air Patrol Memorial Aerospace Award. We got approved for the award at the squadron level. We got approved for the award at the unit level, which is Southwest Pennsylvania, and we also got awarded it at the wing level, which is for the entire state of Pennsylvania, for all that Air Heritage Aviation Museum does to support both the Civil Air Patrol and aviation history. So we're really, really proud of that. We're going to a ceremony in Loretto, Pennsylvania later in May to receive that award. It's a very, very prestigious award for us to win, and we're all very proud of it. The Civil Air Patrol, they are huge supporters of our organization. Anytime we have a big event, you'll see them there. They'll do anything we ask them. They'll park cars, they'll help clean the garbage cans, whatever we need to do. So we're very, very proud of that. Thank you for asking.
And it's right here in Beaver County, the Air Heritage Aviation Museum. You can go. There's no admission to go. You can see all this history. You can take part in the history as well because you have a nice area out front in your office where people can buy models of planes, replicas of planes, and pins and things of that nature. It's all part of helping to keep the Air Heritage Aviation Museum alive.
Yeah, and we're always looking for volunteers. Mm-hmm. When I first walked in there and I saw people like Dave, and I went, there's nothing for me to do here, right? The fact is, and look, we'll always take qualified pilots, especially need certified mechanics, A&P mechanics.
Yeah, let me say, if you're a retired U.S. Air mechanic and your wife wants you out of the house a couple days a week, please come see us. We're always in need of aircraft mechanics.
But there's a lot of other things, too. I'm meeting with 2 students over at CCBC Aviation School tomorrow. They want to start helping us on our social media platforms, which are, from my generation, we're kind of limited. You're probably a lot better at it than I am, but
that's not saying much for your abilities.
But they want to get us going on, I think it's like Instagram, and they can take short movies. They looked at the museum and said, we could make 1,000 videos right here. And, they edit them, they put music to them and stuff like that. So there's all kind of, we're in the process of doing a 3 to 5 year inventory of every piece of memorabilia we have. So look, it's a very rewarding place to be. People come, they don't know anything about Air Heritage, and yet in a month or two, they're doing tours. Maybe like I can't do a tour as good as Dave can, but I can cover the highlights, So we're always looking for volunteers.
But you're great ambassadors for the Aviation Museum in Beaver County. Tom Gargaro and Dave Messersmith, thank you both for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike, thank you, and thank you to Beaver County Radio. We really appreciate it.
All right.
All of your eggs into one basket not only makes them easier to carry around, but it can also save you money. This is Kalen from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. And yes, I'm the guy behind our recent social media campaign that compared consolidating high-rate credit cards to putting all your eggs into one basket. Sometimes, having lots of options is beneficial, but usually not when it comes to credit cards. Combining balances and getting better terms almost always saves you money. And I can prove it. Get this. Last month, Freedom United Federal Credit Union saved our members over $23,000 by helping them put all those eggs or credit card balances into one easy, manageable basket. Or should I say account? It's the month for eggs, so let's gather all of yours, put them into one basket, and put Freedom United in your future. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Your success is our success. We belong to you.
What does it take to take an adventure? Endurance, for when the trail's crumbling under your tires and the desert's pushed you to your limit. And a visit to your Honda dealer's service center, so you can do it again and again. Our Honda trained technicians know what's best for your vehicle. When you're due for maintenance, visit your Honda dealer's service center. We take care so you can take an adventure.
Drive into Moon Honda for your express lube needs or schedule online at moonhonda.com.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, brought to you live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.